Hey, move those routers there. Oh, hey, it's me, your data center. And as you can hear, I'm making some big changes in here because AI is making some bigger ones everywhere. So I took a little trip to Nokia. Super fast routers, optical interconnect, fully automated, the whole data center networking portfolio, and they deliver. That's them. Hey, Nokia, right on time.
Get your data center AI ready. Someday is here with Nokia.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in the cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to RAP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Alison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, RAP Paranormal and Friends and RAP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events. Hello everyone, welcome to another night of RAP Paranormal and Friends. We have a special guest for you tonight, a little bit of a different topic. You know, we have authors on, paranormal investigators and things like that. This person, though, kind of comes from just different aspect. I mean, he is a paranormal investigator, but he also has developed a lot of equipment that we use when we go out investigating in the field. So, Tony Rathman is on. He does a lot of ITC and has a new product that's coming out called Staticom that he's been using. But before that, Tony was actually kind of a skeptic from what I remember, and his wife Cherie kind of got him involved in the paranormal investigating area of things. And once he got his first bit of data or evidence, he was kind of hooked, and now he's kind of playing a big role in what we do today. So welcome, Tony, to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we've had Ron on, and you guys are kind of like a part of a group, right?
We were. We are no longer.
Okay.
The original combination of the four of us started about 3 years ago, three and a half years ago.
Uh-huh.
And they started with a method called direct radio voice.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And which was great that they did that, because they went back through the pioneers and really took a look at what method of communication was out there,
right,
and what was working and what wasn't working, what was debunked. And they came across direct radio voice, which was pretty much invented or determined that he could get voices from a gentleman named Friedrich Jurgensen.
Right.
And Friedrich Jurgensen taught it to Konstantin Radeve. Konstantin Radeve taught Marcello Bacci. Marcello Bacci used it for like 35, 40 years, was actually tested in lab by scientists, and they could not debunk what he was doing.
Right.
So they went back and said, okay, let's see if we can get it to work. Well, when we went on a 4-mansion tour with them for haunted locations in 4 days, which was exhausting.
I bet.
But we heard it run. We heard what kind of responses he was getting. And so, we partnered up for about 3 years.
Okay.
We changed it from DRV to Staticom.
Yes.
And then we had a difference of opinion on what next steps should be, how it should be evolved. So we decided, let them take the information they have and go their way, and we're going to take the information we have and go ours. So my wife and I took what was Staticom 2.0, I think.
Yes.
And really dove into how we believed it was working, what we needed to correct, what we decided was wrong. And now we have Staticom 3.0, which is just breaking boundaries on every level of spirit communication.
Right. And now, so Staticom, though, this is used with like two-way communication using like broadband white noise, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. One of the original complaints about any ITC, whether that be using a radio or which was typical, that's where the static was produced from.
Yeah.
But the biggest complaint from both scientists and skeptics was one of two complaints. Either A, they would say you're just getting stray radio frequencies, and you don't know you're picking them up, but those are your answers, which makes perfect sense because if your initial device running the entire method is a radio, which is made to bring in RF signals, convert them to speech, and create speech or music, that's a pretty good definition of why someone's not going to believe it.
Right.
The second version is that you're hearing warbles and artifacts of sound, and the human brain is trying to make sense of them and determine them as speech when, in fact, they're not. That's what science would say. Well, we wanted to avoid all of that. So the first thing we did was we removed the radio. The second thing we did was we replaced it with a white noise generator. No ability whatsoever to pick up any type of wave, not radio, not satellite, walkie-talkies, baby monitors, CBs, nothing. It does not have the ability to do that.
Wow.
Then we took the white noise that was injected into the system and we slowed it down in real time. So 50% in order to understand what was being said. Because through the pioneers and our own research, we realized that they speak at times so fast that you can't even tell it's speech. It sounds like a syllable.
Right.
But when we slowed it down, we could determine that there was full sentences there. So then we spent years trying to clean up the audio, trying to get longer sentences. But the biggest thing was the amount. Like, even with DR...
Hey, move those routers there. Oh, hey, it's me, your data center. And as you can hear, I'm making some big changes in here because AI is making some bigger ones everywhere. So I took a little trip to Nokia. Super fast routers, optical interconnect, fully automated, the whole data center networking portfolio, and they deliver. That's them. Hey, Nokia, right on time.
Get your data center AI ready. Someday is here with Nokia.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There were times we got some clear sentences. Staticom got more. Staticom 2.0 got more. Now 3.0 will get every response clear as a bell.
Wow. How did you come up with this idea to use broadband, like, instead of the radio? Like, how did you come about with that?
Well, it was a combination of tests from the entire group. Ron and Loris did a test in the zinc mine and determined that anybody that was using a spirit box got no responses at all. And them using DRV at the time, were still able to get voice responses 30 feet under the ground. So that was first step, that, hey, radio signals can't penetrate Earth that deep. I was working with a gentleman in California who was telling me he was getting voices in running water.
Oh.
And so he sent it to me. He said, can you please look at this for me? And sure enough, he was. So then we turned around, my wife and I turned around, we recorded fans, air conditioners, running water. I taped mics to my car for the wind noise.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I could pull voices from that as well. The problem is that there was no consistency in the level of the white noise, as it would fluctuate. If a car passed my car, it would increase the white noise intensity. So we decided white noise generator, because every sound produced by a white noise generator from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz is at a spectral frequency of 1, meaning they're even the entire time. It allows us, when the spirits speak, then it overlaps the white noise, it elevates their voice, and then we can cut the white noise off because we know the levels set it off, leaving only the voice.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Now, I looked at the things that you sent me, and you have quite the setup. Do you have to take that setup with you everywhere you go?
I'm not sure which setup you're looking at.
Well, there was some that was like you were sitting in front of a computer and you had like your speakers and everything, and you were asking questions and.
Yeah, that's my actual research studio.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But that was one of the first things we said when we went from Staticom to Staticom 3.0. I said, we got to make this more portable.
Right.
So we did that. Absolutely, we did that. We condensed it. It literally now fits in a briefcase, and away it goes.
Okay, very cool. That was my next question. I'm like, are you going to have to carry like a big-ass computer with you and a whole setup if you want to use this? Okay, awesome.
Nope, that's all been corrected. It literally fits in a case and can easily be handled and picked up and moved around.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I was listening to some of your responses, and they were giving responses when Sheree was sick. There was one where you got one with Bocce, which I thought was kind of cool.
Correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, you do get some intelligent responses to your questions.
Yeah.
And it was more clear than I've heard on, like, a spirit box or, the apps and things of that nature.
It's way beyond the problem with the spirit box, and we know this well because my wife and I built them for research purposes for 12 years. We could clear up the voice. What we couldn't do was get an extension of the communication. It was always a word or two, maybe 3, once every 10,000 questions, maybe a sentence. But the reason for that is because the philosophy behind a spirit box is that spirits would somehow rearrange the fragments of audio that are coming through into new sentences. Well, through research, we determined that's not true at all. In fact, every time it hits a radio station, the white noise goes away, and their ability to communicate is stopped dead in its tracks and cut off.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's something I did not know. I haven't used that actual spirit box, and I don't know how long we haven't used one, so.
It gives me a headache, so we haven't been using it.
Yeah.
Well, that was definitely the other problem. I mean, we got white noise to be removed from the audio in spirit boxes we built. It was still there for them to use, but it wasn't coming out of the speakers. But yeah, trying to listen to an SB7 or an 11 through that mashing white noise, which covers up the responses, distracts from it, and turns it into what sounds like warbles and artifacts, which is why the scientific community never really took it as serious as they should, and we're hoping that'll change going forward.
Right. Now, is this something that's going to be available to others to use in the future, or what's the plans with this?
Well, I can't tell you what the plans are for Staticom 3.0 as far as releasing it. It is a complicated system. It is not like a spirit box that you flip a switch and you can just play with it all night. It is not like that at all. It takes knowledge of sound, how sound works. It literally is a Frankenstein's monster of recording instrumentation for managing frequencies, taking background noise away. So it's a little more complex than that. We had talked about releasing it multiple times, and every time we got close to doing that, an upgrade was usually made, and we went, not the right time. So, how Staticom would be released and when, that I can't answer at this point. Staticom 3.0 is maybe 60-some days old, and we have a ton of research left to do on it. But the results have been absolutely mind-blowing as far as the communication that it can get.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. From what you sent me, it sounds pretty awesome for what you guys got going on. Now, did you have a background in any of this kind of stuff prior, or how did you get into figuring out how sounds and things and frequencies work to get communication with spirits?
Well, my father was a physics instructor for 46 years.
Okay.
So growing up, everything I asked was always a scientific answer. Dad, why is the sky blue? Well, because there's water vapor in the air. Blue's the most reflective color, so when sunlight hits it, makes the sky look blue.
Right.
Well, then I worked in an electronics shop when I was 16. I repaired radios and televisions. So that gave me the electronics background. So when we transferred from doing EVP work into ITC, after a year, I grabbed one of the spirit boxes we had. I said, I'm ripping this thing apart. I want to see what's in it. Wasn't real complicated, so then we began to build our own to make them sound better, get better responses, and we did that for about 12 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. Now, do you have any plans on, I know you're still working on Staticom 3, but do you have any plans on trying to develop anything else?
Well, I mean, right now, this is probably the top of the pyramid right now.
Yeah.
So...
Hey, move those routers there. Oh, hey, it's me, your data center. And as you can hear, I'm making some big changes in here because AI is making some bigger ones everywhere. So I took a little trip to Nokia. Super fast routers, optical interconnect, fully automated, the whole data center networking portfolio, and they deliver. That's them. Hey, Nokia, right on time.
Get your data center AI ready. Someday is here with Nokia.
But future plans can include so many things. The uses of it, I mean, we're looking at, and we got some information on our first one, but we're looking at possibly because of the way the information comes across, over the research, we realized that they will not give us information about the future. And certain things like, I don't know, can't tell you how many years we asked, hey, what's the winning Powerball numbers? No, never comes through. But we've been focusing some of the research questions on things that have happened in the past. And about 94% of the responses that come back are 100% accurate. Meaning we can look something up online, some random question, and then ask it. And then we get a response, and sure enough, the response given is accurate. So one of the things we want to do is, can this be used for cold cases? It's hard enough for somebody to lose somebody, and going through that grief, but not knowing what happened on top of it is even harder for them. So we thought this might be a way to help them to be able to get information where a case has gone cold that might give them some new leads to figuring out answers.
And now, not only with this, but you guys have also done investigations and things all over the world. Have you tried this in other countries or anything like that when you've gone on these investigations?
We haven't yet. It's in the plans. We're taking it back to the Philippines, which will be going this year, end of this year.
Very cool.
So that'll give us a great idea of how it responds. We already know that we can get answers in other languages. Tagalog will show up for my wife all the time. Japanese has now shown up because she speaks English, Tagalog, and Japanese.
Wow.
But we've had other languages as well. I turned it on one night. They were speaking Turkish. I said, that's not English. What language are you speaking? They said, it's Turkish. So then we had that audio evaluated by somebody who speaks Turkish, and they told us exactly what they were talking about, which was really cool.
Wow.
And then one time at a live demonstration, we had a gentleman come up and he said, "Can I ask a question?" We said, "Sure, go ahead." Well, we didn't realize what he said because it was in a different language.
Yeah.
But he was Native American, and he asked his question in his Native American language. So we just waited, and he listened for a bit, and then we saw his eyes get wide and his mouth dropped. I said, "Did you get your answer?" He said, "Not only did I get it, but I got it in my Native American language."
Oh, wow. That's very cool. So what happens if you take this on an investigation and you get a different language? How are you going to be able to translate it? Are you going to, does it record on the computer itself and then you can go through a program or something and have it translated, or?
It can be recorded. Obviously,
right.
What we do know is that spirits won't normally speak in a language that you don't understand. So people always say when they hear people capturing EVPs, why do they only speak English? We had to take a look at what we believe the entire reality to be. And so we now follow a process called analytic idealism, which says that the ontological primitive, or the primary thing in life, is consciousness. And it has come from universal consciousness, and we are a divided part of that when we're alive, and that consciousness returns back to universal after. So for a spirit to speak any language at all isn't a problem, because they have access to all of that information through universal consciousness. So we've had my wife test and say, "Hey, can you say something to me in Tagalog? Can you say something to me in Japanese?" They can do it.
Wow.
They can absolutely.
That's amazing. I always wondered that because, when we go on investigations and things, even our EVPs, they're pretty much in English, even though we've been to places where the gal was German or whatever, but we've never really captured anything.
We caught Spanish at Edinburgh one time.
Spanish at Edinburgh Manor. That's right. Yeah, we did catch that. But that's about the only place that we've gotten anything. Otherwise, it's, typically in English, which I never thought, because I figured, if it's from a different time period, or if you're in a different country, maybe they're going to speak that native language, but maybe not.
Yeah, if they got the ability and the knowledge of all languages, which they would, because our belief is that universal consciousness is basically one mind, meaning it's all shared, all the information is shared. They can speak to you in any language you ask. So my advice is, if you ever got somebody who speaks a different language, let them ask their questions in that language and see what you get for responses.
We're going to have to try that out sometime. Yeah. Never thought of that. So, that would be pretty interesting to do. Now, do you take this, you go to expos and events and things like that, so you take this and put it on display and kind of get the knowledge out there and do, speakings and things on that?
You bet. We'll do complete presentations. We'll run it live for people to hear, ask their own questions, get their own answers. This year so far, we're going to Phenomicon in Utah. We're going to run it there. We're going to do a 90-minute speech on what it does, how it does it. We're going to the Halifax, Canada, for the Canadian Paranormal Symposium. And then next 2 weeks, we're doing a presentation here in Arizona, in Globe, Arizona, at a daily Paracon. Let people hear it, let them ask their own questions. It's incredible, but it's something you definitely got to hear for yourself in person, because the changes that have been done to it now are mind blowing, and people are just like, I can't believe I just heard that. I asked a simple question without a mic, without sending my voice into amplifying it, or I'm speaking like I'm normal tone of voice, and yet a question responds with timing and relevance right back to the question you asked, and your voice isn't even there's no mic sending your voice out or turning it into radio signal. So, that was one of the first questions we asked when we had 2.0 running. I said, if you're spirit and you don't have human ears, if I speak, how do you hear me speak?
Right.
Because if you don't have ears to translate that sound wave, which I'm producing with my vocals,
right,
and you don't have ears with follicles to vibrate, how do you hear me speak? And they replied, we call it death, energy of your mind. That's the thing.
Wow.
Which makes perfect sense for two reasons. One, we did EVP work for years, and a lot of times the question or the answer would show up before I even finished asking the question.
No.
The second is that the survival theory of consciousness basically states that that's the way it would have to work. So it supports both those theories.
Yeah. What's the most profound response you think you have received from using the Staticom?
I wouldn't even know where to answer that. It could be anything from my wife asking to speak to Marcello Bacci and saying, this is your method. Can you speak to us? And him saying, clear as a bell, I'd say glad to meet you. With, you can hear the European accent, even though he's speaking English in his voice. Or answers like we call it death, energy of the mind. My wife asked, and I always said, don't ask them this. If they were truly dead, they couldn't answer. But she used to say, how did you die?
Oh, yeah.
And running Staticom, they came back clear, level-headed, level-minded. She said, I had cancer.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do ask those questions. I mean, we don't typically do it, but a lot of people do. But to actually get a response like that, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody actually getting a response back to someone saying how they passed. So that's pretty awesome right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many other things too. There's the fact when we were making changes to 3.0, they would actually help tune it.
Oh.
They would tell me to turn things up or down. They would give suggestions. And again, all that's recorded. It's all on the Staticom YouTube. But it's incredible the amount of information we can receive.
Yeah, just from, like I said, just from the ones that you sent me, the clips, I did hear him say his name, Bacci, on that one, and that was pretty awesome. I'm like, wow, because a lot of times you don't get responses like that, even when you do just an EVP, or if you try to do like the spirit box and things like that, you don't get direct responses like that make really any sense to what you're asking, in my opinion.
Right. And no, you're absolutely right. And that was one of the other complaints about a radio. If you're using a radio and you can pick up stray radio waves, it's really difficult to determine reception from deception.
Right.
How do you determine what you receive? Because there's no way to do that.
Right.
So removing the radio was absolutely a must for us to push this forward.
And it's absolutely, this is a really awesome thing. I wish it was available to everybody. I'd like to test this out just to see what it's like. I mean, it would take me forever to figure it out because I am not very good at technology at all anyways, and I don't have the patience for anything. But I think it would be kind of cool to see it actually in action.
Yeah, to see it live is unlike anything else.
Right.
I mean, I can put out videos all day, but again, it's a video. And because of how clear it is and because of the responses and how quickly they come in, first people think it's a video. That's so easy to manipulate. He's manipulating it. First of all, no, I'm not. Second of all, anyone who has heard it run live can verify this is legit. This is actually happening. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Have you done live videos online with it? Like a live
No, the reason being is because Staticom uses multiple sources of audio. It combines them and then spits it out from a separate computer. Like even the connection we have right now has one audio input.
Right.
So I either have to combine the audio, which means, and then I can't hear it because the audio's in so you can hear it, so I can't hear what's being said. If I play it so that I can hear it, then the mic's picking it up, and I can't even respond to your questions. So it's we haven't figured that out yet. Yeah. We're testing it. We've run some tests, but it's difficult.
Yeah, it sounds like a process, and props to you to try to figure this out, because like I said, I wouldn't have the patience to figure it out, even though it sounds really awesome to use. That would be cool though if you did ever get it figured out to where you could do like a live feed with it. I think a lot of people
We did it before with a prior version. This 3.0 is more complicated, so
sounds like it.
I haven't figured it out yet. But I ran some tests, I think, last week. Which are on my Facebook page. You can hear it, but it doesn't have the clarity that it has. I mean, not the clarity. Plus, I didn't even tune it. I was just seeing if the signal would come through.
Right.
But it's just a world of difference if you're in front of it live compared to online.
Oh, I'm sure, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you said you have YouTube, so I'm sure that you... What's your channel, so that way our listeners can tune in so they can kind of see what you're working on and how this actually works?
On YouTube, just type in Staticom.
Okay.
And scroll down till you see the round actual page. It says Staticom. You'll pull it right up. The other place is Tony Rathman on Facebook. And the last one is our website, which is entityvoices.com. And it's flooded with all sorts of things about Staticom, where it's being shown, podcast interviews, you name it, clips, they're all there.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Well, this was a lot of information overload for me, because I don't ever get into the real techie part, get it broke down, and the things that, there's other people out there that do different things with different types of equipment for paranormal, and this is something, totally different that, we haven't heard of before, and so it was pretty interesting to listen to, and I hope everything goes well for you guys, and hopefully one day it's available to others to use. That would be awesome.
It will be eventually. There's no doubt it will be. I just can't give time frames at this point, because there's so much involved in it. I mean, if you start getting into production, the cost for production,
I bet.
How much is it going to cost to do this? It uses components that are available today and are patented, so you'd have to find a way to prove that it's a new invention based off of it. It's complicated.
Oh, I'm sure.
But will it be available? I mean, right now there's a gentleman named Keith J. Clark that's showing kind of how the beginning process began. So you can go to him and he can show you how to filter white noise using sound soap. Is it going to sound like Staticom 3.0? No, but that's what took 3 years of playing with to get it to figure out how to do it. But it's coming along, and more progress will be made each day. And eventually, everyone will be messing around with a version of it, no doubt about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tony, for being on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you. And thank you to all of our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. Our information will be available on our social media as well. So if you want to check out what Staticom is all about, we'll have all those links for you as well. Thank you, everybody, and peace out.